Hello. Today, I hope that you guys are great. I'm doing well. The weather is beautiful today. It's a Friday, and I am just looking forward to the weekend. So, I hope that things are going well for you in your world whenever it is that you see this, whatever is going on. Today, I wanted to talk about self care. And as I was getting ready to do this, I thought, oh gosh, I talk about self care a lot, and people may think I'm obsessed with it, which I guess I am. Um, so that would be a fair assessment. And the reason that I am so passionate about self care and I think that it's so important is because it really is the vehicle that allows us to show up for ourselves and for others in our lives. And I think it's also something that is very easy to let go of when things get crazy. And we tell ourselves that we're being selfish if we take time to take care of ourselves. Particularly, I think this is true for women. I'm sure that men have their own version of it, but obviously my experience has been as a female and speaking to other females, and I think that women put a lot of pressure on themselves because we are socialized to be the caretakers, and we are raised to believe that this idea of selflessness is kind of the goal. And it's wonderful to be able to prioritize the needs of others, and I think that we should all do that. And we want to take care of each other, but in order to be able to do that, we really need to prioritize taking care of ourselves as well, at least to have it on equal footing with taking care of others, because then we can take care of others in the best way possible. And I've just had so many women tell me that they don't have time for self care, even when I'm talking about like 5 minutes of, a quiet 5 minutes in your day. I've had people tell me like they just couldn't do it. I had a woman tell me that she could barely find time to shower, um, which is crazy. And I understand, like, if you are, um, if you have a lot of people depending on you, if you are a caretaker, whether it's of an elderly parent or young children or someone else, that is a demanding time in life. And I understand that, you don't have a lot of time, but I'm here to tell you that it's really urgent that you find some time so that you can keep going and continue to show up for those people and for yourself in your life. So, I just want to talk about self care and that it's not selfish. And I think that there are two things at play. One is, at least in American culture, we do idolize the selfless person that takes care of others. We talk about how they always put others first. They were always there for everyone else. Um, and it's an incredible thing, but it shouldn't be done at the expense of our own physical or mental well being. And the second thing that happens is this, fear that we're going to be seen as selfish. Because if selflessness is the goal, then being selfish is like, the polar opposite of that. And nobody wants to be seen that as being self centered or self absorbed or always, putting themselves over other people. But I'm here to say that taking care of ourselves and prioritizing our self care allows us to take better care of the people we love. So both things are true at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. In fact, I would argue that they are mutually inclusive to truly do it at the level that we want to truly be there for others in the way that we want to be. We have to prioritize our self care. And I think that it's helpful because I've also Something else that I've encountered is people saying, well, I don't even understand what self-care is. Like, what does that mean? And it means different things to different people. Um, I personally, when I think of self-care, and I'm going to talk in a minute about the different types of self-care, when I personally think of self-care for myself, I think of it as like whatever feeds my soul. So whether it's a nap or curling up with a good book or meditating or tapping or a walk in the woods, I think of self care um, as something that fills me up emotionally and mentally and spiritually so that then I can kind of pass that along to others. Um, but there are multiple categories of self care, and I think it's important to think about those because it's not just about taking the walk in the woods or or meditating or reading a good book. There are other aspects of our lives where we need to think about what self-care is. um, but before I go into the list of self-care, I want to talk about the benefits of it because I think we tend to see it like we do this. It's like a zero sum game in our mind. So if I'm taking care of myself, I'm not taking care of someone else, and therefore if I have to choose, I'm going to choose that other person because I don't want to be selfish. um, but some of the benefits of self-care, of a healthy um, self-care practice, are being more resilient, living longer, managing stress better, being more present both for yourself and for others, um, being more creative, higher level of productivity, higher level of happiness and or contentment, and feeling more connected to others. So it's all upside. Taking care of yourself is all upside. It is only going to benefit you and the people that you love. So I think having that in mind makes it seem less selfish because it is. It's actually allowing you to be more there for the people that you love. And I'm going to say that over and over and over again because I think that that's what we fear. That is our fear, is that if I'm taking care of myself, I am not there for the people that I love. And yes, taking care of ourselves does mean that we have to say no to people sometimes. You have to say to your child, you know what? I need 15 minutes right now just to gather myself together. You're going to have to go entertain yourself for 15 minutes. It may mean saying to a friend, I would really love to have dinner with you tonight, but I am exhausted and I need to get to bed early. Can we reschedule? And maybe like coffee is a better thing because I need to be in bed by 9 o'clock every night because I'm up early in the morning. So, yes, taking care of ourselves does mean sometimes saying no in the moment to people that we love, but then it means that we show up better when we are ready. So, let's talk about the different types of self care. The first kind is physical self care. So, this is kind of the most basic form of self care. If we're not physically safe and healthy, we can't really be there for anyone else. So first and foremost, do you feel physically safe in your home and or your relationship? That's huge. And if not, the first priority should be changing that situation. So asking for help, leaving if that's what you need to do. But you should always have a feeling of safety in your own home and in your primary relationships, both a physical sense of safety and an emotional sense of safety. Um, when you think about physical self care, the things that you want to be thinking about are, how are you moving your body? Are you getting any exercise during your workday? If you have a job where you're at a desk or in front of a computer, are you getting up multiple times in the day to walk around and maybe stretch and just get the blood flowing? Um, how much sleep do you get? Because no matter what we tell ourselves, we function better when we have more sleep. People will say, oh, I can get by in 4 hours. That's great. If you have to do that, every once in a while, okay, that's great that you can, but it's not the ideal. And so you function better on a good night's sleep. And that is probably somewhere in the range of 7 to 9 hours a night, which can seem like a lot depending on what's going on in your life, but that's the goal. Hydration is something that is easy to miss, but are you getting enough water? 6 to 8 glasses a day. It will help you feel more energized. It will flush your system of toxins. Um, and it's just something that should always be, you know, in the forefront of your mind. And I definitely see that, more and more people are, carrying water bottles with them, which is great. If you can, and I am not doing this today, but a reusable water bottle, environmentally, it's better. So that is taking care of others. Um, but making sure that you get enough water, and then also, like, what are you putting into your mouth, because that's going to impact the way you feel. Also, if you are, if it's a constant diet of um, crappy food, you're not going to feel as good as you could. So if you are, if you think about your eating habits and you're not feeling great about them, what are some small changes you can make? Maybe you can substitute seltzer for soda, or tea for soda, or add in some fruit or some vegetables. Change one snack for fruit or vegetables instead of chips. Try to plan your meals. I mean, there are lots of different ways that you can make some small changes in what you eat, and you don't have to do a 180-degree turn. You can start small and just go from there. So the next category of self-care is one that I think that a lot of us think about, is um, emotional self-care. So the things that I talked about before, like taking a walk or getting time for yourself, but it's also, who are you spending time with? Are you spending time with people that love and respect you? Do you feel emotionally safe in your relationships? Do you feel loved? Do you have people that you trust, who are going to support you as you try to create your dreams and bring them to fruition? Um, you know, and other forms of emotional self care are journaling, seeing a therapist, or working with a coach, making time to laugh every day. All of those things are going to help you feel more grounded in your body and more connected to yourself. Another aspect of emotional self care is, and I talk about this a lot too, is the way that you speak to yourself. We all have a tendency to, and some people more than others, and it's definitely something that you can start to train yourself to get better on. It's something that I've worked on a lot in my life, and I've gotten so much better, but I don't know that I'll ever have arrived. But we can be really critical of ourselves, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. I should have known better. Things like that. Also, the story that we tell ourselves, what we make things mean that have happened, when they're really just neutral events. So, for example, let's just say the balance in your checking account. Maybe it's a negative balance. Maybe it's $1,000. Maybe it's $10,000. Whatever it is, it's neutral, it's factual. Someone can look at your bank account and say you have X amount of money, but then you're going to be telling yourself a story about that. If it's a negative account, a negative balance, maybe you're telling yourself you're not good with money, you're a financial failure, whatever. You might be telling yourself that at $1,000 or $10,000 too. Someone else may say, they're wealthy. They're like, wow, look at the way I'm managing my money. The story that you tell yourself matters. It's going to impact the way that you feel and the actions that you take or don't take. So you need to really tune into what you're telling yourself about your life, because that is going to, and that is a form of emotional self-care. Finding thoughts and stories about ourselves that serve us and are going to help us move forward in a positive way. Another component of emotional self-care is finding joy. Where do you find joy in your day or in your week? How do you play? How do you have fun? Cultivating joy is a really important aspect of life, because life can be hard. There are things that are going to happen to us that are out of our control, that are going to be really difficult and challenging. And the more we can find joy, even in the dark times, and it is possible, the more resilience we build and the better we are able to navigate those challenges. The next category is your spiritual self care. So, what feeds your soul? And again, you can see that there's overlap here with the emotional and the spiritual. But what feeds your soul? It could be watching a sunset, it could be going to church, saying a prayer, walking through the woods, writing poetry, whatever it is that just helps you feel connected to yourself and to the universe or the higher power, whatever it is that you believe in. Um, that is spiritual self care. And so making time for that in our day, and I really, ideally it's going to be part of every day or almost every day. But even if you can, find time to do it a couple of times a week, at least to start, that is really important. So making sure that you can fit that into your day. And it can be 5 minutes in the car when you get to work. Before you go into the office, just sit there and breathe in and out for 5 minutes. Or if you're waiting to pick up your kid, just like say a prayer or recite a poem or listen to a song when you're driving to work that makes you smile. There are so many different ways that you can squeeze spiritual self care into your day. Another um, category of self care to think about, and this is one that um, I don't know, I certainly, when, it wasn't something in the forefront of my mind, but is professional self care. Um, and just sort of setting boundaries around the workday, which is getting harder and harder to do as more people are working from home. And even if you don't work from home, you've always got your phone on you. Your boss may think that you're available 24/7, but starting to set some boundaries around that, even if it's just, oh, sorry, I didn't see that email. I was out and I had left my phone at home. I didn't realize it till I got to wherever I was going. um, Making sure that you're going to have time on the weekend that's downtime that you is for you, um, and or time with family and friends. um, just during your workday, making sure you have a few minutes every couple of hours to just get outside, get a breath of fresh air, just get up and walk around your desk. um, do something just to kind of take a break, mentally take a break from your work. um, Professional self care can also be about figuring out how to be most efficient during your workday. So, shutting off your phone and giving yourself an hour of uninterrupted time, um, doing something called time blocking, which is when you kind of plan out your day and, from 10 to 12, you're going to answer emails, and from 12 to 2, you're going to, have phone calls or whatever that is. And if you're working from home and you can have your children, just be aware that like I can't be interrupted during this time. And I know if you're working from home and you've got really young kids, it's really hard, but even small shifts in that can make a big difference, in your productivity and in your just your headspace. Another category is financial self-care, and this one is a big one. Financial finances can be an emotional minefield. Most of us have um, baggage when it comes to money, and so we avoid dealing with it, because it's just really uncomfortable, it's stressful. We don't necessarily know exactly what the issue is. We may have some idea, but we haven't really delved into it. And so we just kind of push it to the side. But financial self care can go a long way towards reducing stress. Do you know what you're spending each month? Are you bringing in more than you're spending? Um, do you need a spending plan? Are you saving for retirement? What about a college fund? How intentional are you with money? Like, are you just spending money and not even realizing that you're spending it? Like, are you getting coffee out every day? And if you're doing that, you may look at your spending and realize that you're spending a couple $100s a month on coffee. And is that what you really want to do? It's about being aware and intentional of how you're spending your money so that whatever you're spending your money on is what you want to be spending your money on and you understand the implications of that. Being so the more aware you are of it, the better you are to able to manage your money. That in and of itself is not going to increase your income, but it's going to hopefully regulate your spending. But as you alleviate stress around money, it will sort of free you up because even if you think you're avoiding it, it's still there. It's still like buried. Your brain knows and your body knows that you have issues with money. And so that may be stopping you from coming up with creative ideas about how to earn more money, um, or how you're going to work differently and maybe get a promotion. So there's a lot attached to the financial aspect of self care. Um, Another thought around money is um, just like taking a shopping break for a month or two and just kind of getting clear on what your basic expenses are and then thinking about how you want to spend the rest of your money. Intellectual self care. So, how are you keeping your mind fresh? Are you doing, crossword puzzles, TED Talks, watching the news, whatever it is? How do you keep yourself intellectually stimulated? Social care, social self care is another way of taking care of yourself, and that is going to vary depending on who you are, if you're an introvert or an extrovert. But I'm going to say that almost everybody, probably everybody, needs some kind of social interaction. Some people need more than others. Um, so part of social self care is seeking out company when you need it, having a group or at least one person that you can really talk to and trust and confide in. Um, it's also setting healthy boundaries around time alone, which again we talked about before, um, and making that time for yourself when you need it. Environmental care is another form of self care. It's the last category we're going to talk about. And in some ways, I think environmental self care is like almost the easiest because um, it may take up a little time to set up, but then once it's done, it's done. So taking a look at your surroundings, are they cluttered? Do you feel claustrophobic? Do you have to like clear the debris from your bed to climb in at night? Um, you know, that is going to impact the way you feel. And so, if you can declutter to some degree, that's going to help you sort of, if you clear your space, it helps clear your mind. Um, what are things, do you have things around you that brighten your day, like photographs or flowers, candles? How's the lighting in your room? I don't know about you, but like I find a dark room really depressing, so I always want to make sure I have enough light. And it doesn't have to be that you have to install lighting and have a contractor come in, but get a couple of lamps and just brighten your space. Um, Essential oils or candles. But with the space that you're in, especially if you're spending a lot of time in it, even if it's in your office or if it's your home, you want it to be inviting. You want it to feel comforting and just to be a place where um, you want to you want to spend time. Another part of environmental self care is the emotional piece of it. So, you may have the most beautiful house in the world, but if everyone is constantly arguing, then it's not going to be comforting. So, you know, this is obviously a place that's going to take a little bit more time to shift. But even just the awareness of, this is not, doesn't have to be this way. How can we make the changes? Can help you start to take some steps in that area. So these are all different aspects of self care. And the intent with giving you this list was not to overwhelm you and have you think, oh my gosh, I had enough trouble finding 5 minutes in my day. Now she wants me to think about all of these things too. No, I don't want to overwhelm you. But first of all, the chances are you're probably doing pretty well in at least a couple of areas of self care. So figure out what those are, pat yourself on the back for that, celebrate that, and think about why those areas are easier for you. How do you think about those areas of your life? For example, you may be great at physical self care. You may be the person that gets to the gym at 5 a.m. every day. Not a question. You're up, you're out, you get the workout in. And you may, in addition to that, you may eat really well. So that's amazing. Like, pat yourself on the back. But then think about, well, what thoughts do I have about my physical self care that I could then apply to my financial self care? Because maybe my financial self care isn't where it should be. So, chances are, if you start to think about your physical self care, you're going to realize that you have thoughts like, it's really important. I want to stay healthy. I want to be able to, age gracefully. I want to be able to pick up my kids, whatever it is. And so then transfer those thoughts into your financial self care or your environmental self care or whichever area you feel might be lacking. And pick one. You don't have to deal with all of these areas at once. Pick one that you feel like you're on the verge of like being able to tackle that and start taking small steps. The rest of it will come. Do it one at a time, and just see how you feel. Because self care is really important. It is about um, taking care of ourselves so that we can then be more present in our own lives and in the lives of others. So choose one area, choose one small thing that you can do, and that's where you can start. And if it still feels overwhelming, I've got you. I work with my clients on creating self care routines to help them feel more grounded and peaceful in their lives and to be able to start to make those small changes that are going to create huge impact. So, get on a call with me today. We will talk about it. I will tell you more, and let's see if it's a match for you. All right, well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.